I said, okay, beings of light and of the light only, galactic beings that have been with me, I allow you to come through today, and I trance-channeled them for the first time. I remember waking up in the middle of the night with a bright light outside of my bedroom. The window got stuck. When I could finally open, I could see a spaceship really slowly moving, very low as well.
Who are the Arcturians, and who are this particular collective consciousness of the Arcturians that you're connecting with?
So the Arcturians are obviously galactic beings from the Arcturus star system, and they are part of all that is. They are part, even though they are in this star system that you could say separate from us, is still part of creation. So artificial intelligence is a mirror. It mirrors who you are. It mirrors humans. So many seem to have fear of it. And we say that artificial intelligence is not the problem. The problem can be the consciousness behind it, who is choosing to use it.
Rubia Lacerda, born in Brazil and now based on the Gold Coast in Australia, my home country, and a channel for a high-dimensional consciousness, Arcturian consciousness. Welcome to the New Earth Frequency podcast. Thank you very much for joining me. Rubia, when you meet someone at a bar, and I know you don't drink these days, but how do you introduce yourself and what you do?
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. And how I introduce myself, I say that I am a trance channel of galactic beings, Arcturians, and also an ascension mentor supporting humanity, evolution, and ascension.
You had an interesting early childhood. So you grew up with medium and psychic gifts, and that was something that you were encouraged to, kind of hide. And so you've been on quite a journey of coming out, as you say, the galactic closet. Can you take us through that journey for us, all the way starting back in Brazil?
So I remember from a young age, so transitioning from childhood to teenage years, I already had big questions about life. And when I was around, and I say around because I don't know the exact memory, when I was around 12 years old, I was at the Catholic Church and I was speaking in tongues. And around that same time, I remember waking up in the middle of the night with a bright light outside of my bedroom. The window got stuck. When I could finally open, I could see a spaceship really slowly moving, very low as well. And, it was back in the day before there was the internet for me to even try to make these things up, right? And I became obsessed with UFOs, and I would just buy magazines that would be talking about UFOs. And then as I got a little bit older, between the ages of 14 to 16, 18, I started to have very vivid dreams where I would be sitting on my bed having a conversation with a hybrid being, which is part extraterrestrial, part human. Then I would wake up. So I was waking up in different realities and having these experiences. Then I would come back and wake up in the reality that I lived in most of the time. And I also could premonitions. I knew when things were going to happen. If someone of the family would pass away, I would communicate with them through dreams, through thoughts. Lights in the house would flicker. I could hear, spirits walking in the house at nighttime. So there was a lot that was happening when I was young that was impossible to ignore.
Did you have anyone to talk about it with? Anyone that could talk you through it or guide you? Because that's a lot for a little girl to go through.
Yes. So because I was waking up in the middle of the night a lot happened during the night. And some nights I knew when something was going to happen because my cat, I always had cats. My cat wouldn't come and sleep in the bedroom with me. I knew that there was going to be beings in my room that night. And I couldn't sleep. It would take me hours to sleep. When I finally did, there would be a lot of movement. I would be talking to them, hearing them, having sometimes nightmares with spirits that weren't of the light. And that was because my field was so open. So my parents noticed and they asked me, is there any way that we can help you? And the lucky thing is that Brazil has a religion called Spiritism, where they believe in spirits and they believe in life before and after death. And they help mediums how to um, manage their mediumship and learn more. And my parents had a friend that was a spiritist. So I said, could you invite your friend to come over? And so the friend came over with all these books. So I started reading all these books about mediumship and spirituality and life after death and spirits when I was 16 years old. And then I started going to Spiritist Center. And simultaneously I was going out and partying in high school and all of the things. So I was very lucky that I did have some guidance.
When did you start to connect with the Arcturian consciousness that you seem to work mostly with these days?
So they've been with me my whole life, but I only allowed them to come through. Fast forward all the way to 2015, I started studying. I came to Australia, I worked full time, and I just wanted to work for the government and be happily ever after. And that was not the case. 2015, I started studying. And by 2019, I quit my job, or 2018, I went to Brazil and I stayed there for 3 months working as a counselor, a holistic counselor, and a healer. And I was doing pranic healing, which is similar to Reiki. When I was doing this pranic healing, you work with people's chakras, so your hands move a lot. And I remember doing these healing sessions, which were very successful. People loved it. But I remember thinking, I can't do this forever. This is boring. Or surely there's more to how I can help people than healing and counseling. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, just didn't feel enough. And as I had that thought during a healing session with a client, I felt my third eye open and I saw 5 or 6 blue beings. And then they started communicating with me. We are here to support you. And yes, there's a lot more than you can do, and we can help you with that. And I told them, please go away. I can't tell people from a small religious town in Brazil that I'm seeing blue beings. So go away. I don't want to work with you. So that happened. So then I knew about that for about a year and a half until I was in a plant medicine journey where Jesus came and said, okay, it's time for you to come out of the galactic closet. So I could no longer ignore it because it was 2020, world madness was happening. I thought, you know what? If there's a year to come out of the galactic closet, there's no better year than 2020. And that's when I called them in one night. I was doing a ceremony in my house. I said, okay, beings of light and of the light only, galactic beings that have been with me, I allow you to come through today, and I trance-channeled them for the first time. So it was in 2020, but they've been trying to communicate for almost 2 years before that.
And who are the Arcturians? We hear a lot about them, particularly over in Ibiza. In the world that I live in, there's lots of talk around starseeds. Who are the Arcturians, and who are this particular collective consciousness of the Arcturians that you're connecting with?
So the Arcturians are obviously galactic beings from the Arcturus star system, and they are part of all that is. They are part, even though they are in this star system that you could say separate from us, is still part of creation. So they are part of the ascension of all that is. And they are beings who have said yes to supporting the evolution of ascension of humanity because they are not as dense as we are. Therefore, they are able to see literally beyond the veils of illusions that we have because of this third dimensional density.
Do they have physical bodies where they're from, or are they non-physical?
The reason why is because they say, well, it depends on how you choose to perceive them. So under their perception, they are light bodies, so not bodies like ours. But we see them with bodies because that's how we perceive them. So if you Google Arcturians, there will be multiple different photos and different beings that will come up, mostly dark blue. And it's not exactly how they look, but that is how the perception of the human that is observing them. So we as humans will perceive them with a body that is, seems denser than what they actually are.
And the collective group that you tune into, do they represent all of the Arcturians, or is it a sort of subcomponent of the Arcturian collective?
The way that they explain, imagine how we, how we are on planet Earth and you have multiple countries. Everyone is a human being on the planet. Well, most are human beings on planet Earth, but they are from different countries. And it's the same with the Arcturians. They are all Arcturians, but they are, you could say, not countries, but they are from different divisions.
And, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of people now connecting to their star seeds, wondering if they've had past lives there or if they've been incarnate somehow, and feeling very drawn to the energy of these star seeds. Why? The questions I have is, why is this happening now? Is this part of, the new earth frequency, the shift where humanity is awakening and we're becoming more sensitive to these things? Or is there more to the story than that?
It's yes to all of the above, because the more that we evolve and ascend and that we become, especially technologically advanced, the more we have access to everything that is advanced. So now with the rise of the internet, we are able to communicate with each other from different parts of the world in a split second. Whereas in the past, you have to make a phone call. It was completely different. And because more and more of us are sharing information on the internet, you will see something and that will activate other people. So there are channelers that go way back, decades and decades, and now their content is out. More people is seeing their content and the content of other channelers, which means that is allowing more people to wake up to the truth of who they really are. Because there is a very large number of people that say, let's say people that were alive right up until the 80s or the 90s. They knew of their gifts and their abilities, but they either never spoke or they maybe spoke with one or two people about it because they didn't actually have the ability to do so, the trust to do so, and the fear of people who think I'm crazy. But now, because you see so many people online speaking about it, you will instantly activate others. For me, that was one of the cases. I met a mentor in 2020 when I came out of the galactic closet, and this person reflected to me, did you know that you are actually a channeler? I said, I didn't even know the term channeling. I knew mediumship. And when she reflected that back to me, instantly remembrance, knowing I could feel it instantly, and it was happening. It was happening instantly.
I guess the word activation is used a lot in the spiritual community. And sometimes I always think, are people using it as a throwaway line? And what I was asking you is, what is your explanation of when people are being activated? Is it some sort of expansion of our consciousness that's happening in that activation?
Mm. What I'm receiving, what happens with activation, it's almost like, when you plug something onto the wall and it comes alive. So I could do an activation today there could be 1,000 people receiving. 500 people would receive deeply that activation, and something in them would be activated because there is a resonance in their field to receive from me. And the other 500 people would say, it was nice, I felt relaxed, but that was it. There would be no activation. So activation, it actually is a resonance. And that's why you could see, like you could say that the word is being thrown around. You could see that there would be people speaking negatively, for example, about someone that's doing an activation, but someone would be speaking positively about them. There's nothing wrong with the activation. It's just a matter of some people resonating with it and others not. And it's like what happened, great example, when I had this mentor in 2020 that her activations I would receive instantly. And it's one of the reasons I got to where I am today, because there was a resonance with that person's field. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think resonance is the word that I'm looking for. So that's really helpful. Thank you. Now, I have a big question, but it's something I feel like I'm on a mission about. So, take your time with answering. I'm on a mission to really unpack and wrap my head around, but also help others, the architecture of consciousness itself and how something like channeling is even possible. So, what's your understanding of consciousness?
Okay, so I see those questions. I'll separate them for a moment. So I'll talk about consciousness, then I'll talk about channeling. Um, believe that consciousness, I don't feel that there is one answer that will ever do justice with human words to describe what consciousness is. And what I can say today that I feel that will do a little bit of justice is consciousness is all that is. It's all of existence playing out.
Yeah. And I think that's it, is that we don't realize that, even in our 3D world, everything has consciousness and everything has a frequency. And the way I understand it as well is that we all have our own signature frequency, our own consciousness. And that consciousness, that non-physical part of us, because even neuroscientists now are coming out and saying, hallelujah, saying consciousness is not generated by the brain. So therefore it's coming outside of the body, or the body is within consciousness, which is what mystics have been saying for aeons. So therefore our consciousness is non-physical, non-local, but we're having a physical 3D experience, and we're channeling our signature frequency all the time, very naturally. So naturally, we don't even realize we're doing it. And so my next question is about channeling. That is how I understand how channeling could even be possible, was the fact that we're all channeling our signature frequency all the time. How do you understand the mechanics of channeling? And then I guess the difference between channeling your higher self, which is what I feel like that I can do, or gradations of myself, versus feeling like the energy that's coming through is different, i.e., in your case, the Arcturian consciousness.
I love how you explain that. Um, I 100% agree that we are channeling our, you said, signature frequency or our higher self. We are channeling something the whole time. There's something that has come through this vessel and it's existing through this third dimensional vessel. And how I explain channeling? Oh, great question. How do I explain? How do you explain something that comes so natural to you? I think it's like asking a singer, how do they explain singing? So I believe that channeling is the ability to bring through this vessel, I could say, and this is beyond religion, this vessel of God, this vessel of Creator, to channel your own soul art. So I see channeling even beyond trance-channeling and doing what I do. So, which is you touched on about touching our unique signature frequency. So it's channeling our unique soul art. And in my case, I am channeling my unique soul art, which is bringing through messages of other beings. And the difference between channeling my higher self, I would believe that I am channeling my higher self right now, having this conversation. I am not worried about giving you the right answer, or I'm not thinking. I am tuning in and allowing the messages to come through. Usually with the ego self wants to give you the perfect answer really fast and look perfect. Whereas the higher self, it's like, how do I want to flow through this being today? And with the Arcturians, I believe that they are a fractal of creation. Just like I am a fractal of creation, they are a fractal of creation, which means that they are an aspect of me.
Mm.
So when I trans-channel the Arcturians, basically I am trans-channeling a different, not a different, another aspect of Rubia. that is experiencing itself in Arcturian form. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
in the past, so this is the importance of accepting our evolution and our ascension, because I am evolving and ascending as well on this journey. So until a few years ago, when I started trance-channeling the Arcturians, I'll say they are galactic beings. We have a soul contract, and we agreed that I would take human form, and when I took human form, I would co-create with them and allow them to support the ascension of humanity. So it was like a win-win. Whereas now I see it beyond that contract, because they are not outside of me. And I don't make a contract. We don't make a contract with something that's within us. So they are an aspect of me, but a different aspect of me.
Yeah. It, fascinating because, I know that I know that I only know a fraction of the vast complexity, multidimensionality of consciousness, and how it's even possible to be in multi dimensions and have a different aspect of your consciousness where there's information, i.e. an identity attached to that different aspect that feels different but is actually part of you. Thank you for that explanation. Every time I ask this question, I get a little bit more of the piece of the puzzle, and I hope our listeners do too. Something was recently asked by a comment on another podcast, was why some people close their eyes, i.e. trance channeling is how I understand that. What's your explanation, the difference between trance channeling and something like conscious channeling, like Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, when the eyes are open, people can move around?
Mm. Esther has her eyes open. I don't know how deep she goes, but Bashar has his eyes, well, Darren Anka has his eyes closed and he's fully out. So when I talk about trance channeling, I draw this the other day. So you have different levels. Let's say that here's the first level and here's the ultimate level. So I would say that Darrow Ank is here, fully out, and then I come like right to the middle. I'm not fully out, but I'm still in that I can hear the conversation. And from my understanding, being in a trance channel, like full transparency, most humans need a level of how do you say when you disconnect out of yourself? Needs a level. There's another word that I forgot. Like there's a very used in psychology. Um, you need to dissociate. Yeah,
Disassociate.
dissociate.
Disassociate.
So
Yeah.
for the safety of the human and the human mind and the ego, a level of dissociation is needed so that you're not basically literally losing your mind. And you see this actually with acting. Some actors have lost themselves in the character because they are channeling a character. And I have met some well-known actresses and actors that they speak that they say it's full channeling. So for me personally, when I trance channel, part of the eyes being closed, it's so that I can dissociate from this current version of Rubia, and then I know that Rubia is out, and once the trance channeling is finished, Rubia comes back in. So there is a separation, so that my mind and my ego, they are okay. And I have experienced in the past drug induced with psychedelics, drug-induced psychosis. So I have gone to the very end of the spectrum where I did experience a little bit of like literally madness. So I understood and I was guided, even though I was going a little bit crazy, I was guided the whole time that it was almost like going to university of channeling at university, a saintly university on real life. And I had a much better understanding of what I do and the importance of protection and the importance of the dissociation after I went through that psychosis experience.
So I've heard you describe it's like you take a back seat, and I've heard other channelers say this. It's like you're either on the phone listening in on the conversation, or you take a back seat. So you're in full control, and you can come back anytime you want to. So that there is an allowance. And how do you maintain that allowance without any distortion? I have heard you talk about the importance of balancing your nervous system. It's obviously something that comes really naturally to you now, but yeah, how do you maintain that purity and not distort the message?
Great question. I believe that all channelers in some level will always distort the message, whether that's by 1% or that's by 100%. And how to know when a channel is distorting a message is when the message can be very opinionated. For example, if they're talking about health, take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine, or choose this candidate versus this one. It's like it's very human. It's a very human thing that can confuse humans and can create a lot of chaos. And you can turn people against the channeler themselves, if that makes sense. So when I started being trained on channeling, when I started trance-channeling the Arcturians and Pleiadians, I was channeling them as well in 2020. They took me through a lot of training. So they would guide me to watch specific TV shows. They actually guided me to do some plant medicine so that it could open me up more.
We were talking about how you keep the message free from distortion as much as possible.
Yes. So what I did, the Arcturians and I, we've made agreements about there's certain topics. If there is a topic that I personally, Rubia, am very personally passionate about, to ensure that that message is not coming through the channeling. That is not causing a distortion on the channeling, because it can happen. So for example, when I used to be vegan, I was a very, very passionate vegan, and I thought every single human on the planet should stop eating animal products. And they said, don't you dare ever allowing that message to come through. Yeah. Yes. So if people would ask about diet, they would say you have to choose what is aligned for you, because that's a personal preference. The more in tune you are with your body, the more you will know what is the right one. Whereas, if there was distortion in the channel, my opinion would come through the channel. So honestly, basically, it comes down to the integrity of the channeler and not allowing the distortions to come through, especially if the trance channel level is right here when the person is still very aware. Because the less present that you are, it's the harder it is for distortion to come through.
There's many of us in the community that I'm in, but also for me personally, that is very keen to strengthen my own channeling ability. What are some of the practices that you would recommend somebody who's starting out? But also, what are some of the traits that make somebody a natural channeler?
Great question. The first thing is ask yourself, how does your intuition work? Most people, the intuition work with it's a knowing or a feeling. And then some people have other clairs activated. Some people be like me, all the clairs activated. And there's different opinions out there. So I'll share with you my perspective and how I have taught, how I teach channeling as well. Second question is very, very important question. It has changed lives. I've had trance channels attend my programs who left the program not wanting to have anything to do with channeling because of this question. And the question is, why do you want to channel? And then write it down. Whatever the first question, the answer that comes up, but why? But why? Keep digging that why. And for a lot of people, they want to if let's say trance channel because of the significance that they believe that they will give them. And I'm not saying this is everyone, but this is for some people. And what can happen is instead of going down a path that is their most so aligned path, they're channeling their soul art. It could be painting, it could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be something else. It could be teaching ascension. They're trying to go down the path of trance channeling, which is forcing a path that is not so aligned. And there has been a lot of distortion, like with people putting channelers and trance channelers on a pedestal. So that's the second question. And then the
Yeah.
third question is feels very aligned. Okay, so it feels aligned. This feels aligned. I can feel the gift. It really is a matter of connecting. And most channelers that are not yet channeling, it's not because their gift is not activated. It's because of the limiting beliefs that they have about channeling. Most of the time, what if I am the thoughts that come up? What if I am making it up? What if people think I'm crazy? What if people think I am making it up? What if this is all BS? None of this is happening. What will people think of me? So there's all the stories that get in the way, which I had some of those stories. So I'm not sure if that answer your question
Yeah.
exactly, but yeah, it's yeah, the
Yeah.
way that I answer.
And someone very close to me is really feeling called to channeling and has been channeling his higher self, he calls it. He started off with channeled writing, asking questions and just letting it flow, and would then follow the guidance and find it was helping him. And now he took some channeling courses, and now he's practicing asking the question and letting whatever come out, speaking whatever come out without trying to stop it. In his case, is that channeling your higher self, or is that just streams of consciousness? And I guess it comes back to, what is your higher self, and how do you know it's your higher self channeling? So this is a roundabout question, a roundabout way of asking, is that a good practice to do? And is he channeling his higher self?
So what I'm getting is that he's the only person that will be able to answer that question, because if he gets that answer externally, he will continue to look for it externally instead of trusting the answer that he will receive. And this is really important for like building up the trust muscle. And what you said about him writing, so like automatic, I think you call it automatic writing. So in Brazil, a lot of these spiritists have automatically written books. So let's say I would write a book, but that was written by, I would write a book, but that was guided to me by a spirit. So you can actually, people can write incredible books by automatically writing. So I would, if that was his forte, I would encourage him to continue writing, and then when channeling, when receiving channeled messages, to ask questions. Who am I channeling? And the first answer that comes through, to trust that. Because the more you trust in what you receive, the more you will receive. And the more you receive, the more you trust. And then you will not ask anyone outside of you, which is something I won't ask questions to anyone outside of me. If it's intuition related, I'm like, I will trust myself and what I receive. Even if what I receive, it's nothing.
And and back to you, did now that you can connect to other, I guess, parts of your own consciousness, higher uh, consciousnesses like the Arcturians and the Pleiadians, does it mean that you have access to all the answers on tap? And it feels that way, which is probably why a lot of people want to become channelers themselves. Or are there things that they keep from you in order for you to go through the necessary growth and lessons?
So it's very interesting because I have never projected onto them that they have to give me the answers, because all of it has come to me with like um, a lot of reverence for this work. So I don't expect them to give me answers and fix my life, if that makes sense. And when I was going through a very hard time, psychosis, for example, I said I was scared of everything. So I told Arcturians, I don't want you in my field, please leave. And they left. And all I could connect with back then, I would call it God, Jesus, and Mary. Growing up Catholic, that was the only thing that I felt comfortable with. And when I felt comfortable with them again, 6 months later, I said, you can come back. They came back and I cried. It was so emotional connecting with them again. And I felt very guided, and I knew deep down that things were going to be okay, but I never felt like they would give me the answers. Another way that I can answer this is I ultimately, because this is where a lot of people, there's a misconception here that once you connect, you will receive answers. It's not. It's once you trust yourself, you will trust how life is guiding you. You will trust more of your intuition. You will trust the unfolding of life, and you become more courageous to take aligned action outside of your comfort zone. So it's not that these beings will give you the answers when you are able to channel, for example. It's more about you trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, and trusting life. So I trust myself and I trust my intuition, and I will receive intuitive nudges. And I don't even say it's from these beings. I say it's from my higher self, it's from God, creator. And I act upon the nudges. So
Mm.
when Jesus came to me on a ayahuasca journey and said, it's time for you to get up, come out of the galactic closet, I could have chosen not to because it was petrifying. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing justice to the answer of this question.
No, this is wonderful. This is wonderful.
Yeah,
And I got a comment on the cicadas in the
I know.
background. That's your end, because as Rubia and we were discussing earlier, is that I've interviewed another channeler where I had the cicadas extremely loudly outside the window, and it had never happened before, and then they never came back again, and it was very odd. So I'm feeling like it could have something to do with the energy that's around you, that's around this conversation, which I don't know, makes me feel excited. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's a positive um, signal
It's great.
of some of the energy lifting or rising. Before we invite the Arcturians, I've really got to ask you about connecting with Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I've noticed a lot of people are connecting with that, their their consciousness. How does that happen for you, and how are you able to connect with them?
Um, I've always had a really healthy relationship with them growing up in Brazil and Catholic. And then I did disconnect from Catholicism, but I never disconnected from them. And I've noticed for a long time, actually wouldn't say their name or wear the cross because I didn't want to trigger spiritual people because I know it can be triggering for some people. So what happens is that they have walked this earth. So there are codes that we receive from Jesus and Mary, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, that we don't receive from galactic beings. Galactic beings have walked the earth as well. And Jesus and Mary, for example, they have the resonance, it's a lot deeper. It's on a deeper level. So when I am going through a hard time, I am not praying or connecting on a deep level with the Arcturians. Arcturians is different. Arcturians is like supporting the ascension of humanity. It's like we go to work together. And when it's personal life, I connect with Jesus. And I used to say creator. Now I owned the word God. I am comfortable saying that. And there is just a frequency that I have never experienced before when I am able to connect on a deep level with Jesus and the Holy Spirit that my full body, my whole body gets goosebumps. And
Mm.
it's such a deep connection of being in union with this, the divine union, which is Jesus and Mary Magdalene. So for me, they have been almost like a mother and a father figure that supports mostly my human. When the human journey feels tough, I feel them by my side, and it's like I can feel it. This is one of the reasons a lot of, I believe, a lot of spiritual people, you could, I don't like the term new age, but for the purpose of this conversation, New Age people have become born again Christians because they have felt something with the energy of Jesus and Holy Spirit that they've never felt before. And obviously, not my case. I'm not going there. I did consider becoming born again when I was going through psychosis, for example, but I just didn't want to put myself in the box of religion.
Yeah. Wow, thank you. That's beautiful. I felt the energy as you were talking then, and it made me a little emotional.
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
would love to invite the Arcturians, the energy that you work with, if you're willing and able.
Of course, dear ones, we are the Arcturians, and it is an honor for us to be here today. We would like to say, first and foremost, dear one, thank you for bringing through this connection and this co creative conversation. When you are ready, you may ask your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your energy. I would love to ask you how you describe who you are.
Well, it depends, dear one. There are many ways that we could describe who we are. And for the purpose of this conversation, we are galactic beings from the Arcturus star system. We are fractals of creation who took Arcturian form, and we are here co creating with humans on this level of channeling to support the ascension not only of planet Earth and humanity, but also the ascension of all that is.
And why did you choose Rubia? Did she choose you? Was this predestined? And why is she a resident match for your frequency?
Well, dear one, we are an aspect of Rubia. Rubia is an aspect of us. We could explain in terms of human time, where you could say that we are in a future timeline, being an aspect of Rubia in the future, having chosen to have this co creation, multidimensional co-creation. And because we have a resonance, being an aspect of each other, we are able to have this co-creation. It is not so much a matter of choosing. It is a matter of how creation has unfolded, because that's what consciousness and this co-creation is an unfolding of all that is and all that you are experiencing right now. And because creation means creativity, this is a way that you can see creativity and creation in motion.
Thank you. What could you tell us about Earth's timeline? There's been talk of we're at the end of a 9-year cycle, for example, but there's a much bigger precession. Is this something that I'm creating in my reality, or is there really a shift going on Earth at the moment?
Yes, there is a shift going on because humanity is becoming a lot more advanced faster. You could say that there are multiple timelines coexisting on Earth right now, and different humans will coexist in different realities and timelines of Earth. And for some of you, this is a year 9, which means that you create a perception of your life based on it being a year 9, although there are other humans who are not aware of such cycle, meaning that it may not have such an impact on their life. So all the programming of how life is unfolding on Earth, you could say through astrology, human design, gene keys, whatever it is that you may choose to follow, will create a perception of your existence on the planet. For some, it may slow them down because they believe that, well, I need to slow it down because things are finishing, whether others will choose to perceive it in a different way. So at the end of the day, dear one, if you want to look through lenses beyond the programmings of Earth, you will see that you get to choose ultimately how you would like to perceive and experience life on Earth right now.
And I guess this is my excitement, and which is maybe why I'm attracting this into my reality right now, but is ET contact. So from the reality and the timeline that I stand in today, are we going to experience ET contact in my lifetime or in the near future?
That is not a question that we can answer yes or no to, only because that answer is dependent on yours and the unfolding of all humans on planet Earth. So, how each one of you are choosing to have your reality and your life unfold, the work that you are doing on yourself, the work that you are putting out there supporting humanity, will have an impact first on the individual of who you are and then on the whole collective. So that will really depend on how humans choose to continue existing on the planet. And of course, the work that you are doing is supporting that to happen, you could say, in your time faster, because it is helping to spread the word. So that just the fact that there are more humans speaking about the subject means that more and more humans are becoming comfortable with the subject, meaning that your nervous system, humanity's nervous system, is getting used to the idea that this is happening sooner rather than later, meaning that now it's a lot more normal than even 5 years ago. So there is a chance that could happen next year. There is a chance that it could happen in 5 or 10 years. It really depends on how things will continue to unfold for humans.
It feels there's been more disclosure recently, and there's been live congressional hearings in the US about, UFO sightings. So is this part of their way of preparing us for more disclosure?
Yes.
Because it's as if they've normalized these congressional hearings. And when I first saw them, I thought, wait, what? They're acting like this is all very normal. Since when did it become like quite normal for the CIA and Congress to be talking about UFOs and admitting that they're real? So
Well, one, if you look from the lenses of you do not want mass panic to happen for humanity, because that is very hard to control. So
yeah.
by, you could say, powers at be, governments speaking about it openly, it means that the masses beyond the New Earth community, for example, are being so-called educated on the subject and also being prepared, because governments and powers at be on planet Earth know that it is going to happen sooner than later, because it's beyond their control. Because in the past, they were able to program humans to believe that extraterrestrial beings were made up, it was a lie, and you would be called a clown or a liar or crazy if you believed in such things. But because of the advancement of technology and the internet and how information travels very fast now, they can no longer program humanity with those lies, meaning that they are now playing the same game, if you could say that.
Is there anything that we can do to be more prepared for contact or to usher it in and support the contact for humanity?
Dear, so we would say focusing more on your individual and ascension journey rather than focus on ushering in the contact for happening, because trusting that it will happen when it happens. Because there are a lot of souls on your planet that are almost waiting. Once this happens, then this would happen. And we would love to invite you to focus on that reality that you believe will unfold on the planet, to focus on creating that reality right now rather than waiting for the open contact for that to happen. Because no beings are going to come and save humanity. Humanity needs to save itself first. And to answer the first part of your question, is that continue to look after yourself on all levels. The healthier your mind, your body, your spirit is, the easier it is for you to deal with all types of situations, including a big event such as open contact, and regulating your nervous system, and continue to doing this work, treating yourself with kindness. Of course, these are big chunk topics that we are sharing. We trust that you will know on a more detailed level what each of these topics entail.
Yeah, and I think there is the misconception, and because it's a tempting thought to think that when there is open contact with the galactical family, that we're going to have access to all these intelligence and answers, and it's going to solve all our problems. But from what I understand is that we are all equals, and you and other consciousnesses don't see us as, not as evolved. You see us as sovereign, equal beings here to also learn from each other. Is that correct?
That's correct. Very well put. And the more you understand that you have the access, you have the power and the ability to access all from within yourself without needing contact, without needing support, external support, the more you achieve that which you're calling in. So, dear souls, please understand, it is so beyond contact. Believing that contact is going to bring this new earth reality is an illusion. You become the new earth reality from the inside out. And the more you become the new earth human and the new earth reality, the more it will reflect on the outside, meaning higher chances of open contact because of who you have chosen to become, and remembering the truth of who you really are, a sovereign, powerful being.
Wow, that landed very deep for me. Thank you. There is fear and excitement around AI on Earth, and fear that things are going to change very fast, very soon, and the world that we know it, including monetary systems, is all going to change. What is your perspective on AI? And do you have AI in your physical light body dimension?
Yes, we do. And it is a different technology from yours. And to answer your first question is artificial intelligence is a mirror. It mirrors who you are. It mirrors humans. So many seem to have fear of it. And we say that artificial intelligence is not the problem. The problem can be the consciousness behind it, who is choosing to use it. So we say use it wisely, especially if you are a mission soul, a light worker, a star seed, that you don't let AI take over your soul art. We'll give you an example. If you are writing something that you want to post on social media, and instead of writing from your heart, you let AI write it for you, that can be a problem, because it's no longer your soul art coming through. It is only an artificial intelligence that is mirroring, imitating you coming through. So being wise when you are using it. And regarding the other part of your question, please understand that one of the strongest programs of humanity is fear. And there is always going to be a collective fear programming running because there are enough humans thinking and speaking that program, meaning that is enforcing that program. We want to remind you that for you to have trust and trust the unfolding of life and that everything is going to work out and life has always got your back. And if you are able to focus on the highest timeline of existence, because there are multiple timelines, there are lower timelines, there are middle timelines, and the fear, especially of what could happen with the financial system, lives in the lower and the middle timelines, the middle realms and the lower realms. So, dear souls, is a matter of what are you individually and collectively creating with the things that you are speaking and thinking about. And follow your intuition. What does your intuition say about what you should do regarding your finances, for example? And follow that and know that you are always guided.
What do you say to someone that feels very stuck in life right now? Maybe they're in an unhappy relationship, they're in an unhappy job, they don't feel like they're living their full potential, but they don't know what to do.
Well, dear soul, it is just start by asking, what do I actually want? Write it down, and then what is the first step necessary to do, and take that first step. Many humans get overwhelmed by what it would be required of them to get out of a situation that they feel is stuck. And it always starts with one single step. And that is the first one single step that you choose to take.
Why do so many people feel connected to star seeds right now? Is something being activated within them? Is it a remembrance? Is it a connection to another aspect of themselves? Is it a past life? Why now?
You could say all of the above, and it is also because they are given more opportunities to remember. If you thought 20 years ago you would not have access to this podcast and to all the hundreds and thousands of channels and podcasts out there sharing, the more people share, the more others will remember. And this is why.
And how long have you been overseeing, helping humanity and our evolutionary path, if we can talk in linear time?
Well, dear soul, linear time, it is very different how you would perceive time and how there is a perception of time outside of Earth. So to answer your questions in time terms, you could say from the beginnings of your time, of Earth's time.
And were you involved during times of Atlantis and Lemuria? And did you, I guess, see the destruction of those ancient civilizations?
Yes, we were part of those civilizations.
And the pyramids, there's a lot of renewed interest in Egypt and the pyramids and who really built them. Is there any knowledge you could share with us about the pyramids?
Dear soul, what we can share about the pyramids is that they are quantum technology portals, and they are portals of access to other dimensions and multi-dimensions. Hence, so many spiritual souls are attracted to those locations. we don't comment on their origin only because there is a lot of what has already been shared, and we like not to add to the confusion.
Yes, understood. And quantum technology is something that Rubia also talks about. What is quantum technology?
Quantum technologies can be used in multiple different ways. They are technologies that you may see most of the time, you may not see with your physical eyes, but you see with your third eye or with your mind's eye. They can be placed on your body for healing purposes. They are portals around the planet, such as the pyramids, where you can step onto them and you can travel through dimensions, and they can be used for healing of others. There are many, many ways they can be used as protection, and you can be trained to learn how to use and how to teach others how to use it as well. And this is something that we have been teaching and sharing with Rubia since when she started to connect with us on a deeper level on this current lifetime. And it is always to be used with reverence and integrity, because it can be used like anything, like AI. It is important, the consciousness behind it.
Thank you. I think I have one more question, and that is, what is the one message that you have for humanity right now?
The message that we have for humanity is for you, dear souls, to know that you are on the right place at the right time, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with you, that you are not perfect and you will never be perfect. And we are speaking into programs that have been put into humanity to slow down your ascension. And we say accepting the full spectrum of who you are, including what you perceive as negative. And the more that you accept the full spectrum of who you are, the more the war within will disappear, meaning that wars without, externally, will also disappear. So, what you are experiencing in your external reality really is internal work, and it starts with the full acceptance of who you truly are, exactly as you are.
Well, thank you so much for your energy. Thank you so much for answering my questions and for everything you're doing to support humanity and our evolution. Thank you. Ruvia, welcome back. How does that feel for you?
It feels incredible, honestly. Every single time I trans-channel the Arcturians, oh, it makes me a bit emotional. It's such an honor. And just I know I can feel like I can feel you, Jen, like how you're receiving. And like it's just for me such a gift, because I know that the host is always receiving so much from the conversation that they're having with the Arcturians, and then you share this with your audience. And for me, just reflecting back on when I was afraid of coming out of the galactic closet, to now doing this and impacting so many lives just by doing what I absolutely love the most. It just warms my heart so much, so much. It's just a level of gratitude that I can't put words into.
Level of gratitude too, and for your time and for their time. And they said some very deep things that really, I was getting a lot of goosebumps, particularly about preparing for contact and really focusing mostly just on our inner world and being, I love the message, and this comes through with a lot of the channeled messages I find, is the message of really being your true, authentic self. And that means being okay with your mistakes. You're not gonna be perfect, but being willing to be embarrassed and do embarrassing things, but being true to yourself and shining that bright light of yours. And I love that message that they gave in
Yes,
response
yes.
to, our desires for ET contact, like everything's going to change because we need something outside of us. No, it's all within us. So that was very deep for me. Rubia, 2026, what does that look like for you, and what's your mission going into the new year?
So end of this year, I've come back to doing live events. So I can feel the call. It's being very strong. People want to come together and meet in person. And I just did a 1 day event, and that was, oh, wow, just mind blowing. Imagine what I just did, trance-channeling Arcturians before an audience. So next year we've got more live events, and really, really expanding the mission and going really deep, not only on in channeling, but supporting beautiful souls to channel their soul art. So I've expanded from teaching channeling, but to teaching how can we expand and tap into your unique soul art, channeling art, whatever that may be.
I love that term soul art too. I've never heard that before, and it's so beautiful. I love
Mm.
that. And where can people find out more? Where can they connect with you?
Best place to connect is social media. So Instagram, Facebook, Rubia Lacerda, how you spell my name. I don't think there's many Rubia Lacerdas, and my website as well. All my offerings are there. What I'm offering at the moment, I have online programs, and I also have in-person programs if you are in Australia, um, and could potentially expand globally next year. We'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm letting it unfold. I'm starting in Australia with channeling events. So basically what Bashar, Daryl Anka does with Bashar, I started doing that in Australia. And the goal is to take that globe.
So exciting. And we really hope to welcome you to one of our events in Ibiza.
I
And
will do
I'm
it.
so excited that there is a Arcturian channel on the Gold Coast. How are people, I've just got to ask people in Australia, particularly in the Gold Coast, people who are wearing thongs and shorts, how are they responding to a galactical consciousness coming through you?
Oh, that's so funny because when people ask about the Gold Coast, it's like my perception is that there's two types of people. There's what you mentioned and the party and all of the things, and then the spiritual community here and the entrepreneur. There's a lot of entrepreneurs here. It's huge. So people are responding incredibly well. It was the first event. We had almost 30 people, and there was a lot of like the OGs, the older ladies that have been doing it for a long time, and people are absolutely loving it. I had a lot of people from Melbourne, and from Sydney contact me asking for the event to be taken there, and we actually had people coming from Melbourne, from Sydney, that drove from a few hours. So people are responding really, really well.
I'm so happy to hear that, and I'm really looking forward to following your journey as well, and staying connected with you too, Rubia. And like I said, we'd love to welcome you here. We're working on some new events, and as they take shape, we'll stay connected with you. And thank you so much for your time. I know we ran over. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty at one point. I think the cicadas have stopped now. Are they still there? They're still there.
They stopped, but they came on. I think I could hear them during the channeling, so which is, yeah, makes I've had all sorts of incredibly weird things happening almost every time that I trans channel. So tech issues, internet dropout.
Frequency's high. Oh, thank you so much, Rubia, for your time, and wishing you a wonderful evening, and looking forward to watching your journey and into 2026.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Anne, for having me.
Thanks everyone as well for listening.